whole team has really gelled, maybe because of number 30.
Gogolak now will try one from the 46-yard line. It is good. It is good. The second one today for Gogolak to increase the Giants' lead now to 34-17 with 1 minute and 42 seconds to play.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you. If you can maybe give this video a thumbs up or possibly leave a comment below or maybe even share this video. It would mean so much to me. But anyway, just thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you. Well, the New York Giants, a 1941 NFL season, was very good for the Giants. Very, very good. They won their division. They went to the championship game. They didn't win the championship game, but you know, they had a very good season. They lost 2 times to the Brooklyn Dodgers. Brooklyn Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers never made the playoffs, okay, in their existence. Right? But they always were a good team. They always gave the Giants a hard time, and they beat the Giants 2 times this year. But it didn't matter. The Giants, the second time the Dodgers beat the Giants is at the end of the season, and the Giants had wrapped up the division by then. So thankfully they didn't need to win their final game against the Dodgers. But 1941 was also, speaking of the Dodgers, it was more known for the bombing of Pearl Harbor, all right, on December 7th, 1941. Games were going on, and I heard conflicting reports. But the Giants were playing the Dodgers, okay, at Bolo Grounds. The Giants were the home team. The Dodgers won 21-7. It was, I heard there was like, when the bombing had gone on, there was announcements over the loudspeaker. I heard some of the players found out about it maybe like at halftime. I also saw conflicting other reports, like the players had no idea what was going on until after the game was over. Same thing with the people. So kind of conflicting reports I'm getting. So it's tough to say exactly what happened. But 1941 was more known for, America getting into World War II than it was for its football. But anyway, so let's take a deep dive, shall we, into the 1941 NFL season for the New York Giants, which just happened to be the 17th season in the history of the New York Giants.
All right, the New York Giants, 1941 season. All right, we got the New York Giants. It was the franchise's 17th season in the National Football League. Hey, this nice little season recap here. Just something short here. The Giants managed to put together quite a respectable team this year. Ed Danowski was lured out of retirement. Tuffy Lehman's his back healed. And thankfully, Mel Hein was talked out of potential retirement. The Giants sailed through their first 5 games. Only the Washington Redskins came within a touchdown of them as they outscored their first 5 opponents 122-27. I mean, look here, 24-0, 17-10, 37-10, 16-0, 28-7. I mean, so, but the Brooklyn Dodgers, coached by Jock Sutherland and guided on the field by All-Pro Ace Parker, proved the Giants' most formidable opponents, dealing them 2 of their 3 losses in the year. Yeah, the Dodgers always played the Giants tough, always. And the Dodgers were a good team. They just never had the best team, so they never went to the championship game. The Giants clinched the Eastern Division title weeks in advance of the regular season finale, which they lost to the Brooklyn Dodgers, which was on December 7th, which is when Pearl Harbor was attacked. As I said, I got conflicting reports. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I heard the one report I read that, when it was announced over the loudspeaker, so like maybe just the fans heard it. I also heard that some of the guys found out about it, like maybe in the locker room at halftime. I heard other things like the guys, none of them knew, or most of them didn't know, or anything like that until after the game was over. So I got conflicting reports, but it was getting bombed when they were playing football. The 3 games that day were not interrupted, but a bye week was observed before proceeding to the championship game. So the following week, usually like December 14th would have been the championship game, but they had a bye. Okay, so to observe the bombing and the United States getting into World War II. But if we look here, all right, the NFL 1941 NFL season. All right, the 1941 was the 22nd regular season of the National Football League. Before the season, Elmer Layden was named the first commissioner of the NFL, while Carl Stork resigned as the league president. Layden also took over on the duties of the president and signed a 5-year contract at $20,000 annually. Whew. That was a lot of money back then. Let me tell you frickin' what. The league's bylaws were changed to provide for playoffs in case where division races are tied after the regular season. All right. And rules for sudden death overtimes in case of a playoff game was tied after 4th quarters. The defending league champion, the Chicago Bears, and the Green Bay Packers finished the regular season tied in the Western Division. They were both 10-1, so they had to play a playoff game, which was the first such playoff game to decide who won the division to go to the championship game. But in the upcoming years, the Giants and the Redskins would do the same thing. The Giants and the Redskins will both be tied at the end of the season. They had a playoff game to see who went to the championship game. Right? So that set up the first divisional playoff game in league history. The Bears won 33-14 at Wrigley Field on December 14th, then defeated the New York Giants 37-9 in the NFL championship game at Wrigley Field on December 21st. The Bears averaging 36 points per game. That's phenomenal. You couldn't imagine what 36 points per game were back then. I mean, you score 36 points a game now, and they're like, oh, my God, you guys are like the greatest offensive. You scored 36 points a game back then? I mean, let me just show you how many points, They scored 396 points in the 11 games. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of points. I mean, you can easily, put them in the top 5. I mean, if you want for points and everything, easily in the top 5 of all time. Period. I mean, if you want, I mean, obviously you got the greatest show on turf and this and all that and everything, but you averaging 36 points a game back in 1941. That's that's an amazing amount of points. They became the first team since the institution of the East-West Championship game in 33 to repeat as a champion, because they won it the year before. They beat the Redskins 73-0 in 1940. Okay, so they were the first team since the championship game started in 1933 to win back-to-back championships. The total attendance for the league with 55 regular season games was over 1 million. This represented an increase of 9% over the previous season's attendance. All right, the draft was held on December 10th, 1940 at Washington, D.C.'s Willard Hotel. The first pick was the Chicago Bears selected halfback Tom Harmon from the University of Michigan. And then we got major rule changes. The penalty for illegal shift is 5 yards. The penalty for illegal kick or bat is 15 yards. So kicking or batting the ball, 15 yards. Whenever a player is ejected from the game, the team is penalized 15 yards. Wow. A personal foul committed by the opponent of the scoring team is enforced on an ensuing kickoff. In addition to these rule changes, this season marked the first time that the league commissioner became involved in enforcement of player conduct standards. Commissioner Elmer Layden, in August, assesses $25 fines on Green Bay Packers quarterback Larry Craig, and Wilson became Larry Craig and the New York Giants halfback Hank Soar for fighting. Wilson became the official game ball of the NFL. Interesting. Division races. In the Eastern Division, the Redskins held a half-game lead after 9 weeks of play at 5-1-0. Their loss had been 17-10 to the 5-2 Giants, who had lost 2 games in a row. Washington, however, lost its next 3 games, while the Giants rebounded to win their next 2 games. On November 23rd, the 5-3 Redskins met the 7-2 Giants at the Polo Grounds, and the Giants' 2013 win clinched the division championship. Cool. The Western Division race was won between the Bears and the Packers. By November 2nd, when the teams met at Wrigley Field, each team had a loss, and each team beat each other. Okay? When the two teams met at Wrigley Field, the Bears were 5-0 and the Packers were 6-1, in part because of the Bears' earlier 25-17 win at Green Bay. Green Bay's 16-14 win put them in the lead, and then they finished the regular season at 10-1 on November 30th, and with a 22-17 comeback win at Washington. On afternoon of December 7, 1941, on a day Japanese plane bombed Pearl Harbor, the Bears were losing to the Cardinals 14-0 and trailed 24-20 in the fourth quarter before rallying to a 34-24 win. Both teams finished at 10-1. A playoff was set to determine who would go and host the championship game, because the Western Division on the odd-numbered years hosted the championship game. So this was 1941, so whoever won, which wound up being the Bears, they hosted the championship game. When the United States now embroiled in World War II, the Bears and the Packers met at Wrigley Field on December 14th, and with the Bears winning 33-14, sending them to the championship game. Okay, here we got passing leader Cecil Isbell from Green Bay led the league with 1,479 yards passing, rushing. Pug Manders from Brooklyn, 486 yards, led the league. Don Hutson, the Hall of Famer himself, had 738 receiving yards. He led and he was the most valuable player. Don Hutson, the wide receiver for Green Bay. All right. And we got George Clark was replaced by Bill Edwards, the coach of the Lions. Pittsburgh Steelers, Walt Kiesling was replaced by Bert Bell. Philadelphia Eagles. Bert Bell, who left the Eagles to join the Steelers, was replaced by Greasy Neal. Stadium changes. The Detroit Lions played full-time at Briggs Stadium, no longer holding home games at the University of Detroit. The year before, they were at the University of Detroit Stadium, and they stopped going to Briggs Stadium. Now they're going to Briggs Stadium. So they're I don't know what's going on with the Lions there. The Philadelphia Eagles moved back from Shibe Park to the larger Philadelphia Municipal Stadium, and they did the same thing. They stopped. They were at Municipal Stadium. Then they started going to Shibe Park, and I guess they stopped Shibe Park and they went back to Municipal Stadium. So where they previously played from 1936 to 1940. So it is what it is. But, the Bears and the Packers, they're both very, very good teams. The Packers had a very good defense. Bears had a good defense too. But, 396 points. Whew. The Giants did very well. They had good defense this year, and they had a good offense. They scored some points. Past couple of seasons, they did not do very well scoring points. So, that was one of their problems. But then we got the championship game here, okay? The 1941 NFL championship game was the 9th annual championship game of the National Football League, held at Wrigley Field in Chicago on December 21st. Played 2 weeks after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The attendance was only 13,000 people, the smallest ever to see an NFL title game. Yeah, and it showed because the teams, the money that the teams got, each player got was almost like half of it was from the 1940 championship game. Before the title game, the Western Division champion needed to be determined. The defending NFL champion Bears had ended the regular season on December 7th, tied with the Green Bay Packers, 10-1, the 1939 NFL champions. The two had split their regular season series at 1941. They were both 10-1, with each road team winning. So the tiebreaker was the first ever divisional playoff in the NFL, played on December 14th at Wrigley Field. The Packers had completed their regular season on November 30th, and the playoff game was sold out Tuesday, December 9th at over 46,000 people, with over 10,000 seats to the Packer fans. Chicago was favored, and attendance on the game day was slightly lower than a capacity of 43,000 people. the week after Pearl Harbor. The Bears jumped to a 30-7 halftime lead under clear skies and a 16-degree temperature. Clear skies, though, and easily won 33-14. The Eastern Division champion New York Giants completed their regular season on December 7th with a 21-7 loss to the runner-up Brooklyn Dodgers, who had defeated the Giants twice during the regular season. The Bears were making their 5th appearance in the title game. The Giants were making their 6th. Each team only won twice. It was the 3rd time that the two teams matched up in the big game. The home teams had won both times. In 1933, the Bears hosted the game, and they won. The following year, 1933, the Giants and the Bears played. The Giants hosted the championship game, and the Giants won. As I said, 1933, the Bears won. 1934, the Giants won. The Bears were favored by 2 touchdowns, and 35,000 people were expected to attend. The game time temperature was an unseasonably warm 47 degrees in Chicago. The hometown Bears kicked 3 field goals in the first half to lead 9-6 at the intermission. The Giants took the opening kickoff, drove down the field, but had to settle for a short, I think it was a 16-yard field goal. Chicago dominated the rest of the second half with 4 unanswered touchdowns. So it was 9-6 at halftime. The game was actually tied 9-9, like halfway through the third quarter, and that was it. I'm going to show you in a minute some of the stats that they had. The Bears became the first team in the NFL championship game era since 1933 to win consecutive titles. It was the franchise's 5th league title. They won in 1921 and 1932 when they were presented with the trophy because they had the best winning percentage. All right. Then they won 1933. Then they won their back-to-back. They beat the Redskins in 40. They beat the Giants in 41. Then they beat the Giants in 1933. All right. So, I mean, you can see right here. I mean, Giants actually were winning 6-3 after the first quarter. It's like, whoa, what's going on, right? Then the Bears kicked 2 more field goals. So, I mean, it was 9-6. But then the Giants actually tied it up at 9, but then they scored 4 touchdowns in a row. So this is the article from the day after from the New York Times, okay? The Bears overpowered the Giants with 28 points in the second half to keep pro title because they had won the year before. All right, this is a guy from the Bears right here. 13,000 people see Chicago score a 37-9 victory. Snyder kicks 3 field goals for Bears before smallest playoff crowd on record. Giants wilt after tying. But if you see right here, okay, first downs, the Bears had 20, the Giants had 8. Yards gained rushing, they had 207 yards rushing, okay, but they had 182 yards passing. So they had almost 400 yards of, there was 389, almost 400 yards of offense. And this is back in the era of 3 yards or 1 yard in a cloud of dust or whatever you want to call it. I mean, so they had almost 400 yards, okay? I mean, yeah, that's, and they averaging 36 points a game. I mean, they had a heck of an offense. All right, the greatest of all football teams, the Bears struck the Giants with explosive force in the second half of their professional championship contest at Wrigley Field today, routed them with a 28-point outburst, and thus become the first team in national history, Football League history, to repeat as title holders in the playoff era. The Monsters from the Midway wore down the New Yorkers with their tremendous physical superiority and beat them 37-9 before the smallest crowd ever to witness one of these postseason classics. 13,341 people. I mean, whew. Oh, let me show you here. I think it has it here, right? Okay. With poor attendance, the net gate receipts for a record low was under $42,000. Each Bears player got $431. I think the year before, the Bears won. So they had almost, I think it was almost $800 they got for the winning team. Each Giant player got $288, which still back then wasn't bad. But I mean, the losing team, which was the Redskins, I think they got about almost $600. They lost 73-0, and they got almost $600, which was the losing share. So that just goes to show you that, how important, the gate receipts were. Ticket prices were $4.40 for the grandstand and $2.20 for the bleachers. So $4.40 back then. Wow, that's a lot of money. But I mean, it just goes to show you. Okay. Here we go. There's 2 players in the game back. Young Bussey of the Bears and Jack Loomis of the Giants were killed in action 3 years later in World War II. In early 1945, Navy Lieutenant Bussey died in the invasion of Lingayen Gulf in the Philippines, and Marine Lieutenant Loomis was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for valor of the Battle of Iwo Jima. I've done a couple videos on Jack Loomis. Very, very amazing, brave human being. But if we go back here, okay, let's see. The score was tied twice, right? As a matter of fact, the Bears trailed at the end of the first quarter, 6-3. They tied the count in the second at 6, and led 9-6 at the intermission. Undaunted, the Giants drew even at 9. Then the roof fell in. That roof had been hanging precariously unsteady, pinning all the way. The perfect team that George Halas had brought together snapped back from the sting of the 9-all tie and rumbled 71 yards for his first touchdown. This was such a pleasant sensation that had promptly lashed back with 66 yards for another tally. The Bears were on their way. Desperately, the New Yorkers strove to strike back. A pass was intercepted, and on came Chicago for 54 yards and another touchdown. As if it had to add one crowning indignity to the proceedings, the Bears crashed through to smash a lateral forward play by the Giants a scant 9 seconds from the end of the game and converted into a 42-yard romp for the last score. So, the statistical and physical edge that the Bears had was sufficient to make 8 other coaches in the stands breathe a deep sigh of relief that their teams did not have to face the Bears. If the Chicagoans were overconfident, it was not apparent to the naked eye. The Giants did nobly as long as they lasted, but that was not long enough. The pressure on them was relentless. It almost was like a man trying to restrain the inexorable roll of an army tank with his bare hands. Perhaps the most striking example was given in the first half. The Giants had the ball. I read it. I couldn't believe this. The first half, the Giants had the ball for 10 plays. The Bears had 53 plays in the first half. 53. Our Giants can't even get 53 plays in the whole game. They had to bet 53 in the first half. That is just unbelievable. All right. While the statisticians behind the scoreboard were having a few troubles, the experts in the box office between moans were trying to straighten their accounts. Net receipts were only $41,000, which meant that each Bear received only $430, and each Giant got only. All right, okay, here we go. Each Giant got $288. A rude contrast from the $874 that the Bears got the year before, and the Washington Redskins lost 73-0. They got $606. It just goes to show you, okay, what the how important it was for the actually get fans in there, because there was no TV revenue. All right. Now you also look over here. Okay. Now you got to go back to 1933 was the first year they had the championship, between both teams. Prior, from 1921 to 1932, right, the team had the best winning percentage, was awarded the championship. Okay, but from 1933 on, all right. So you'll notice every year was a different team, except now you had the Bears, the first team that went back to back. You had the Bears, the Giants, the Lions, the Packers, the Redskins, the Giants, the Packers, the Bears, and the Bears. So, but as I said, this is 1941. The Giants would not win their next championship till 1956. However, but from 1941 to 1946, the Giants would make the playoffs 4 times. So they wouldn't win any more championships games for quite some time. But, as the seasons rolled along over the next few years, the Giants, had some success.
So you see, 1941 was a very good season for the New York Giants. They hadn't been to the playoffs, all right, since 1939. All right, so it's been a couple of years, and these were very good years for the Giants. As I said, They went to a lot of championship games. They didn't win. Actually, they went to championship games pre-Super Bowl era, okay, which was 1965. So you go from 1933 to 1965, okay, the Giants went to 14 championship games. They only won 3 of them. They lost 11, okay. So they went to a lot of championship games. They just were not winning many. Like how they, now in the Super Bowl era, they've gone to 5 Super Bowls. They won 4 out of the 5. Well, that's about exact opposite of what they did during the championship. I mean, you know, basically, here they won 4 Super Bowls and they lost 1. Well, back then, every one they won, they lost pretty much by 4. So it is what it is. But I mean, overall, 1941 is a very successful season for the New York Giants. But let's not forget that, you know, it was unfortunately more known for the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the United States getting into World War II. Now, as far as for the Giants had some more good times coming up. Including this year, from 1941 to 1946, the Giants would make the playoffs and the championship game a total of 4 times. So there was some more good times ahead for the New York Giants. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo!